If you guys are confused about why AMC stock and other meme stocks have been falling down, and if you guys are confused about the entire market in general and want to know where these meme stocks, including AMC, could go in terms of price action for the next few days and the next few weeks, then make sure you guys watch out the entire video. Otherwise, you guys could be really confused about all this talk about inflation and just why these stocks are going in a downhill right now. So the Dow Jones falls as the Federal Reserve sees rates rising sooner rather than later. Apple dips, which is a blue chip stock. AMC stock plunges. Right now, guys, there seems to be a much higher and a much more emphasized correlation between stocks like AMC, which are a meme stocks. But again, AMC does have controversy about whether it is considered a meme stock or not. Some people consider it a reopening play, but I'm just going to call it a meme stock for now. And so AMC, I thought, and a lot of people thought that there would not be such high of a correlation between AMC and the entire market and the general market itself, right? With index funds, I thought that Apple and the blue chip stocks would have the most correlation, right? But it seemed like today, yes, Apple was one of the blue chip stocks that did get majorly affected by, talks about inflation. However, AMC, it seemed like got much more affected because it ended up going down far more than Apple did. But again, Apple is a blue chip. But it says that AMC stock plunged while other meme stocks such as GameStop and WWE also came under pressure. And then these are some stocks that they think are stable. So ticker symbol PGNY, ticker symbol AVTR, ticker symbol PKI. I don't know what these stocks are. However, again, this article is just stating that despite talks about inflation, these are just some stocks that do have resilience during times of uncertainty. Okay. What a lot of people were really fearful about today, or uncertain about rather, is the fact that the federal officials are now expected to raise interest rates by late 2023. This is sooner than they projected in March. So, this fickleness of the Federal Reserve and what Jerome Powell has been saying about interest rates and when they're going to tackle interest rates, when they're going to potentially rise interest rates, and how they are going to control the rate at which interest rates rise is really what is causing a lot of uncertainty in the market. And a lot of people are projecting a downfall in the markets. And that is not to say that I am projecting a major downfall in the market, guys. I think that in the month of June, especially, I think a lot of stocks, especially like AMC and the small cap stocks, especially, will do phenomenally well during this month because historically in the summer, that is usually when small caps tend to do the best. However, because of so much talks about inflation, a lot of these people on CNBC and just in general, they're the ones that have a lot of fears. And so right now, especially on key events like today, that is when a lot of that uncertainty gets projected to the overall market. And so the progress on this whole situation in the United States, and what is also very interesting is another correlation between the economy and the stock market. Now, a lot of people know that the economy does not represent the stock market and vice versa. And this was clearly evident last year in the summer because last year and then all the way throughout last December and just the fall of last year and the winter of last year, every single stock that you would put your money in ended up going exponentially up. And in fact, some stocks, some stock charts ended up going so linear, some may even say so exponential, that it was honestly crazy what was happening. And so now we are really seeing a cooling off of a lot of these stocks. And if you guys just look at some, like many chart patterns, if you guys look at many of these charts, you guys will see that linear pattern and that exponential pattern has significantly decreased. And now these stock charts are all over the place. And so this is very interesting because now it seems that right now during 2021, the Federal Reserve is saying that the economy is actually doing better and the economic activity is strengthening. However, what's actually going on in the stock market is there's actually a lot of uncertainty and is definitely not as resilient and as linear growth or as exponential growth as last year. And all this will end up going back to AMC, guys. Don't worry. This was the news that I was talking about in my previous few videos ago. However, not a lot of people seem to really understand why inflation was such a big deal. And that is not to say that it is a big deal because a lot of inflation, what's really going on is people are talking about inflation in the future. More people are talking about inflation later throughout this year, not right now. But it's just really important to at least understand and be aware of topics like inflation so you guys can be prepared for days like this, especially if you are a day trader. Because in my previous videos, I talked about key points for day traders to capitalize off of, and a lot of people were confused. However, every single day is obviously going to be a different price action for AMC. And while I am very bullish for the long term on AMC, I also just wanted to give some of my insight. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but I just want to give my insight on what could happen on a day to day basis for AMC, even though I am very bullish for AMC stock in the future. So don't worry, guys, I am part of the AMC stock group. I keep on buying shares, and every time it goes down to that $40 level, I just keep on adding because, in my opinion, I personally expect AMC to go to at least $100 a share, and that is at least. But remember, that's just my opinion. And so the federal officials now expect to lift the benchmark rate to 0.6% from near zero by the end of 2023. They had seen it holding steady throughout the year in March, and the Federal Reserve said it will remain committed to asset purchases. So, again, this is kind of controversial. They are going to try to lift the benchmark rate, yet they do also say that they will also commit to buying asset purchases and continue to do it, so it will have consistency, which again, all this causes more uncertainty because it's very controversial, and a lot of things that they say has a lot of controversy. They say that they're going to raise rates, but then they also say that they're going to be committed to continue buying asset purchases. And then investors have feared a taper of those purchases may be used to remove some stimulus. The central bank did not indicate when it will start paring back the purchasing program. This is another piece of the uncertainty right here because even I, while I was listening to Jerome Powell speak and as I was reading through these articles, they said that they were going to buy back these assets, and then they just don't indicate when all this buying back and when this continuation of the asset purchases will start beginning and whether it will or will not be consistent and for what purpose they're doing this for. So again, that is just another reason why I think AMC fell down today and a lot of these stocks in general, not just AMC. And then again, inflation has been heating up as economic activity normalizes. This is what I was talking about back then, the stock market, when the economy was not doing that well and when the economy was not performing that well, it seemed like the stock market was doing phenomenally well. However, now with resilience in the actual economy, it seems like the stock market is not doing the best. And so the Federal Reserve upped its headline inflation expectation for 2021 to 3.4%, which is 1% higher than projected in March. Again, fickleness right here. They keep on changing their numbers. But the Fed statement once again said inflation pressures are transitory. All right, guys, I also want to talk about option contracts because, as I've been saying, me personally, I'm very bullish on AMC. On the day to day basis, however, though, we do see the AMC volume decreasing. And for this, my personal opinion as to why I think this is happening is because there is a lot of liquidation going on right now. Every time that there is uncertainty in the markets and every time there are key events, what you guys have to understand is that there are patterns, and patterns usually repeat itself on stock charts, or just historically, patterns end up repeating themselves. And so, AMC a long time ago, not even a long time ago, it was just a few days ago actually, that on my previous videos, the AMC volume for these option contracts were much higher. However, now we could see that volume significantly decreasing. And so I expect this volume to start increasing later on, but it's just again on days like this. The reason why I think AMC fell today is that not a lot of people want to trade option contracts, especially when days like this are extremely uncertain. And today, look at the SPY option, guys. So many people were betting that the SPY was going to end up going down. By any amount, because again, put options are basically when you bet that the stock could go down. It doesn't even matter by how much the put option could be, meaning the put option does not have to make sure that the SPY ends up going 20 points down, which again, that's absurd for the SPY to go down 20 points, but that's just an example. But you can make money literally just scalping the SPY, just a few cents. But as you guys could see, there were 2.3 million puts where there was 2.1 million calls. So obviously, a lot of people were expecting the SPY to drop today on a very important day like today. And considering the SPY and the SPY's price action, the SPY ended up dropping quite a bit today. And so for AMC, there was barely any volume again, with 377,000 roughly puts or 378,000 puts. You can round that. And then there were actually more call options today, 641,000 roughly call options. And then for the June 18th expiry dates, guys, so Friday, the June 18th calls, the ones with the highest amount of volume would be the $80 to $84 call options. In this bracket, there is a 98% to a 2% difference, and there are right now 16.5 thousand call options. You could just round that to 17,000. Whereas there are only 408 puts. That significant difference in the percentage wise, this is pretty consistent throughout all of these call options. It is always seems like there are much more call options compared to put options, except in the $50 to $54 option bracket, meaning that there are 37% to a 63% difference, 49.8 thousand call options versus 84.6 thousand put option, guys. So for the June 18th expiry, which AMC was trading around these prices for quite a while, the $50 to $54 range. I think especially what a lot of people did today was they capitalized off of the fact that today was an uncertain day. And so look at the call option guys versus the put options. There are much more put options compared to call options. And I think that a lot of these put options ended up going in the money because yesterday AMC was around that $60 level. And so for it to go at around $64 to $54, forget about $50, guys. Even if it went from 64 to 54, that is still in the money for this bracket. And so I think a lot of people end up having their put options end up going in the money, which for them they made a lot of money. But again, guys, you guys have to look at the long-term outlook for stocks like AMC, because even though right now it seems like there are more put options for specific option brackets of AMC, if you guys look all the way to next week expiry options, which would be the June 25th expiry options, there are still a majority of people betting that the stock of AMC will go higher in the future. Even 1 week out, right? There are people with a lot of call options. This is an 87% to a 13% difference, whereas 13,000 people right now have call options, or not 13,000 people, but the volume on AMC in the $55 to $59 bracket zone, there's now a volume of 13.1 thousand call options versus a almost 2,000 volume of put options. And again, this just shows you guys that there are still people very bullish on AMC. And since again, the next week hasn't even started yet, I expect these option contracts to increase with their volumes. So I expect there to be a lot more call options and put options in the future. But if you look at the $70 call option, 1.2 thousand calls versus 26 puts, this is a 98% to a 2% difference in this option bracket.